Hello, everybody, and welcome to Alternative Interactions and the Peaceful Rebellion with Gordan. Um, Hello, Gordan.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining me. This is the second time we've had a chat, and this time it's me interviewing Gordan, which is a little bit different. So, Gordan, would you like to introduce yourself to the lovely audience and Femi?
Okay, so my name's Gordon Smith Duran. I live in Spain, in the center of Spain, near Madrid, and I live here with my Spanish wife and my two kiddies. So I've got four, but I have two living here with me. Um, I am a Spanish teacher online with my wife. We run the business together, and I also work in therapy. I do kind of, that's my hobby, therapy work. And at the same time, I've spent the last 6 years giving a message of hope that was given to me and continues to be given to me by a group of light beings called the emissaries. The emissaries of God, they're called. And so I give messages, channel messages from them. Hmm?
Superb, absolutely superb, wonderful. So, today, Gordon has been kind enough to. It's a subject that I know a little bit about, but I've never experienced. And this is kind of the subject you have to have experience on to be
Mhm.
able to talk about. And I like to bring different subjects to the Femi, different concepts, different ideas. And today we're going to be talking about ayahuasca. And Gordon has done ayahuasca in the past, and we'll get into all these questions. I've got a few questions, and if you're happy to carry on, then Gordon, we'll
Super,
begin.
yeah, I'm ready and willing.
Superb, superb. Now, what is ayahuasca, first of all?
Right. So, ayahuasca is a potion that's as old as mankind. If I understand it rightly, it's the strongest hallucinogenic substance on the planet. Uh, and I mean, there's a big process, but basically it's two Amazonian plants that come together and create the ayahuasca effect. Yeah. Through a
Yeah,
big process of making the liquid.
yeah, yeah. So fundamentally, it's a plant-based natural ingredient, two that join together to create the hallucinogenic compound
Yeah.
that we you take.
Yeah.
Superb. Now, now I know we do these things in you call them ceremonies
Sure.
and stuff like that. But so when did you first take ayahuasca, and what led you to do this to go into a ceremony type thing?
Okay. Okay, so we were talking off camera, and I was saying that I've been kind of going through the awakening process for the last 17 years. I've always been very interested in the esoteric, in the alternative, in the anything outside of the normal. And of course, it came into my radar a long time ago, maybe the same amount of time, 17 years ago, or maybe even before. And I thought, wow, that looks really interesting. I've had a background experience of what's that use of when you take drugs for fun? It's called recreational use, yeah.
Yes.
So I had a background of that, so I wasn't particularly scared of the idea of this, but I just knew that this was something you do on purpose. This isn't just to have fun. So I looked at it and it looked absolutely great. And I was listening to the testimonials and thinking, wow, these people have had a significant experience. But I thought, well, the likelihood of me going to the Amazons, well, nil, at the moment, nil. So it's on my wish list for another time. Yeah. So that was kind of what I had in my mind for a lot of years. And it was 6 years ago that a Peruvian friend of ours who lives in Spain, she was going to Peru and she said on the phone, I'm going to Peru. Do you want me to bring you anything back? Right. And as a joke, I said, yes, you can bring me back a little bit of ayahuasca if you don't mind. And she said, oh, I don't think I can do that. But it doesn't matter because I know a man who does it here in Spain. Oh, my ears pricked up and I thought, here in Spain? For goodness sake. So she very kindly organized her husband to take me for the first retreat. Yeah, it's called a retreat. And I went with him, and he'd already been there once before. So that was great. That was how I started.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a self-discovery type. Because let's be clear, guys, you'd been aware or awake or questioning for some time before you started doing it. It wasn't something you did straight away as like,
No.
well, hey, fill your boots.
No, no, I've been wanting to do it. There's an expression, you don't find ayahuasca, ayahuasca finds you. Right? It's a very, very repeated phrase that I hear in the ayahuasca community. And so I'd wanted to do it. And the intention was there for a lot of years, maybe 10 years, maybe
Yeah,
10 years. And then suddenly the opportunity came.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you took it. Yeah, good. Yeah, yeah. So how many times have you actually done ayahuasca now then?
Okay. So this is just an estimate because I haven't got exact dates, but um, I've been, there are two ceremonies each time that you go. So you take it twice. And I've been going for 8 years, let's say, so 4 times a year. So I've done it about 35 times.
Wow. Okay, okay. So there we go, guys. There is some experience there behind that one. Um, Obviously, if you're taking ayahuasca that often, there will be implications on health potentially. We'll get to that in a minute because I know the family will be going, "Oh my God, how did that affect you?" But
Mm.
so I want to concentrate initially on the experience of what you do. So, a friend of mine or acquaintance of mine who's done similar stuff has said that he sees certain beings or there's certain things that is common a commonality within the what you see. So could you talk us through what you see, what happens to you, what you feel, the process of you of taking it and then going forward?
Okay. Okay. If you don't mind, I'm just going to prefix everything I say by saying it's called a ceremony because this is an extremely a serious thing. This is not
Shamanistic,
alleged.
isn't it? It's
Shamanistic.
shamanistic. Yeah,
And the and it's also, if you're not careful, it's also can be very culty. Okay. In fact, everything's a cult. Doesn't matter where you go, you're in a cult. But it's very culty. However, the premise of it is that this is medicine that you're taking, and it's called medicine, and it's called plant medicine. All of the these are plant medicine, and it's a very spiritual, very, very you're linking basically with Mother Earth.
yeah,
And so people who talk about the medicine, and you might hear me say it as well, they're referred to as she when they're talking about ayahuasca, because once you've had the experience, a number of them, you know that, boy, you are in touch with Mother Earth. You're in touch, and they call her Pachamama. They call her the La Abuela, the grandmother. So it's like when you've been in her presence, you know what that is. And so it's very easy for me to say, when I talk about it, I'll say she,
yeah,
because I'm talking specifically about Mother Nature. Yeah.
yeah,
So what happens is this. If you're with a good shaman, and my suggestion always is always go with a good recommendation. Don't just choose a random person. Yeah. So the shaman from the very beginning is constantly instilling in you that this is medicine, this is going to heal you, this is going to heal you, this is going to heal you. Okay. So already in terms of hypnosis and hypnotic commands, it's all there. Nice. When you take ayahuasca, you take it, it tastes like the very first time I took it, I thought licorice root. Can you remember licorice root when we were
yes,
kids?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, licorice, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Licorice root. And I thought, well, it's a bit earthy, a bit, a bit like licoricey earthy, yeah. It's always tastes the nicest the first time, then it gets progressively less appetizing. But you take it and then you lie down. And typically you're going to be not noticing anything for about half an hour. That's how long it takes to come into your system. And then, I mean, depending on the circumstances, I've had all kinds of different reactions, but generally it comes in slowly, and you've got your eyes closed, and you start seeing little tinkles in your periphery, little colors, just little. This is my experience. Not everybody sees stuff. And then generally, by the time that I'm seeing little thingies, I'm hearing now that it's affecting the rest of the group. How do I know? Because in every retreat, around about, I would say 30 to 40% of the people vomit. And it's not, they don't say vomit, they say purging. It's basically, it's a cleanse. And so the shaman is waiting to hear whoop, whoop, whoop as it moves around the room. And then he gets out his little stuff and his guitars and all of that. Yeah. Once it comes in, then, and I think a typical ayahuasca experience can last 4 or 5 hours. Okay. So it's quite a lengthy process.
Yeah.
Once it starts, the very first is what I call the wild bit, the mad bit. You just don't have any control over anything. And what I've learned over the years is don't try and make sense of that first bit. Don't try and make sense of it. It's not there to be made sense of. I was told that. Stop trying to make sense of it. That's not the point. We're here to entertain. Yeah, so you've got to kind of just let that happen, and that it can be very, very intense. It shows you things and you don't know why you're being shown them, and they don't make any sense, and some of them are horrible, some of them are extreme, some or many, and it really is quite horrible. That's when most people, if they're going to have like a dodgy experience, that's when they're having problems. You know, that's when they're having problems. After, I would say, I don't know how long that lasts, maybe an hour, and then it starts to settle down. When it starts to settle down, you've still got this massive amount of information coming to you, but it starts being tailored to you. And you start getting insights and messages and things directly about you. And at the beginning, generally about all the shit that you've got to sort out. So how could I put it? The medicine is like this for me. It's like a loving parent, but very strict. So at the beginning, you get your bottom smacked, and the parent says, she says, sort that out, 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 sort that out. Okay, and you're like, "Oh," because you just you don't want to see those things, and that's it. Then it'll settle down, and that's once it settles down and you're in a better place, you start appreciating the music, and you're in this beautiful afterglow of wonderfulness that lasts for a few hours as well.
Superb, superb. And so, do you actually tend to have, is there any commonality on what people tend to see? I mean, do they see like pixie people or monkey people or is there some kind of thing that generally, if you're doing it, you can expect, not to expect, but there's a likelihood of certain things you might see visually?
The only thing that everybody reports on, because I've heard, we do these kind of after the event, the next day, everybody talks about the experience. Fractals are the most commonly seen thing, which is uh, there are two ways to have an ayahuasca experience. One is to do it with your eyes open, and then basically all you see is generally is like everything's fractal. But when you close your eyes, that's when you see just endless, endless. So when I started 8 years ago, I saw at the beginning, I saw the Amazon, I saw jungle, spiders, snakes, all kinds of beasties. It was beastie land. I was in the jungle. But as time progressed, it changed. And each time I saw something a bit different, then I would see structures and all kinds of things. And it was about 4 years in that I got visited by the pixies. And since then, bless them, I love the pixies. The pixies are just, I mean, it's their job in my mind, right? This is just my mind. It's their job. They are the painters on the other side. So they come in with the brushes and the paint the most wild things you could possibly ever imagine that you would see. I'm a very, very visual person, so I do see visuals. Not everybody does. Not everybody does. Lots of people just get feelings or knowings or whatever.
Yeah.
But the Pixies and the Pixies have got this incredible sense of humor. The dark, right? So ayahuasca is what's the word? Irreverent, right? Well, what I mean by that is that there are no taboos in ayahuasca. There's no, oh, we'll just not go there, shall we? Because no, whatever it is that she wants to show you, she's going to show you.
Yeah.
There's no holds barred, and you can, and I have, doy fe, as they say here in Spain. I swear, you can say, stop showing me that. I don't want to see that. And she just comes and goes, I'll just show you some more then. If you don't like that,
Yeah.
I'll show you that until you stop not liking it, until you stop reacting to it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, so, and the last time I went, which was just recently, it was completely different again. I thought, wow, the whole thing's changed. And it was so it's an evolution. Now the shaman, he's I watched some of the stuff that he does videos as well, and he was showing the paintings that everybody does the day after we're encouraged to paint. And he said these were the very first ones that people, the first experiences, and they were dark paintings with
Yeah.
monsters.
Yeah.
And then he said after they've been doing it for a couple of years, the paintings were very beautiful and colorful and everything. And that's my experience. That the more, once you've done the work, when you do the work, she gives you better time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you don't do the work, you're
You
going to
get
keep
the
getting
same.
monsters.
Yeah. Yeah. You until you've worked through that, whatever it was that you've been told to as an individual,
Yeah.
until you've done that, then the next time you're not going to move beyond that level because that is the level that you've got to break through to understand up here to then move forward on.
Not only that, if you don't do the work and you go back, you're going to have your bottom smacked
Yeah.
because you're supposed to have done the work.
Yeah. 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 No, that's really good. Now, what are the negatives to doing this? Because we'll obviously ask about the positives and but let's start with the negatives
Sure.
and then build from that. So, what are the negatives that you have witnessed, seen, or experienced yourself from doing this?
Okay. And it's a double-edged sword because I'm going to talk about the negatives, but ultimately the positives.
Yes, yes,
But
please
the
do. I
negatives
mean,
at the beginning.
it's negative and positive. I was going to ask about the
Sure.
positive, but if you want to blend the two together,
Well,
please do.
yeah, let's go there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, the second or the third ceremony that I attended, I had the most extreme experience ever. It was the worst experience I've ever had in my life at any time. And there was a point in it in which I said, if I get out of here alive, I will never, ever do this again. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. I'm in hell. Yeah. So what the experience that I had is not uncommon. It was extreme. It was extreme. For whatever reason, I believe it was because that's what I needed.
yeah,
That's what I needed. It was me being stripped down to, in the Matrix, that screen where it's just zeros and ones.
yeah,
That's where I was. That's where I was taken to. I disappeared, and she said, "You're nothing, and you've never been anything, and you never will be anything. You're nothing." Okay. At the time, that was like, what? I thought I was going to die. I thought I died actually. And so what they do is they call this the death of the ego. It's a very common experience with ayahuasca. The negative side of it is you don't know what you're going through at the time. If you're new to it, you don't. I didn't know what this was. I just knew that it was the worst thing I'd ever. I didn't know why I'd actually paid money to do this. This was mad. And I spent the entire night, probably 3 hours, unable to see, vomiting constantly. It was just hell. Finally, I came out of that and uh, and I didn't want to talk. And I didn't want to talk because I thought, what is the point? Basically, I've been stripped down to like, what's the point of talking when words are meaningless? Because they're nothing. I was in this weird look. And people were asking me questions, and all I could do was cry. So basically, intermittently for 3 months after that experience, I cried off and on. For no reason. I didn't know why I was crying. My wife told me I was never going to go back there again. She was worried. Um, and it took me 3 months to actually get to a place where I thought, oh, right. Oh, right, right. I think I've got this now, I can get a hold of it now or whatever. I read a book by a psychologist who had studied bad experiences, the bad trips of ayahuasca. It's all she'd experienced, all she'd studied. And she said, at the end of the studies, what I'm aware of is that without exception, everybody who's had a bad experience then goes on to say it was the best experience that they had. Yeah. And I say exactly the same. That experience was so life altering for me and I did a video where I was interviewing people recently on the ayahuasca weekend, and what kept coming through was the loss of fear, the loss of fear, the loss of fear. And what I was aware of was as a person, I was fearful, and especially when you've spent God knows how long going down the rabbit holes and thinking, they're gonna, I mean, at the
Yeah,
beginning, they're gonna come to your house because they're reading your IP address and know what you're watching. They're gonna arrest you and stuff like that. So I was quite fearful. And after that, zero fear, no fear. And for me, that was a big thing, Gary, because I've spent my life I was a fearful child, I was a fearful teenager, and then suddenly it was like no fear, no fear. How can you be scared of? Because fear is only fear of death. That's the only call it what you will, but it's always fear of death. I'd already died. I knew what that was like, and so there was nothing left to worry about, you know. So that's kind of what appeared to be the worst thing that you could possibly experience. What I would say to people is, if you're having it, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're having to go through that. But I promise you that when you get through it, you look at it very fondly, as in, thank God that happened to me because it's changed my life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. One of the things I'm very aware of that in my personal journey is some of the things that were the most difficult and the hardest at the time were the most important lessons I needed to learn and shaped me to be the better person
Yeah.
from that experience, given time to analyze and really work on why it happened and my role in it, rather than it was their fault. You know what I mean? And so it was the understanding of my role in it, what I'd done, and what I needed to learn and take from that experience. Obviously, not like your experience, but I mean, clearly you got the spanking that particular day, didn't you?
Massive, massively. Mm,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. And you're exactly right. I use the metaphor of to make if you want to make a sword very, very, very sharp, you've got to pass it through the flame. It's got to go through the flame, and it's got to be beaten. So that's basically that's what that experience is about.
yeah, yeah. Now you mentioned briefly about doing the work, and so obviously you went back and did it again because you've told us how many times you've done it. Now, did you go back and do it again because you then understood and you'd done the inner work, it taken you that 3 months to really process what was going on and you felt ready to do it again? Or was it curiosity to see what would happen if you did it again?
Mhm.
Because obviously, if you said if you don't do the work, you get it, it pays you back. So would you like to express or explain kind of that of the work that you would do to go to the next one, knowing or not knowing, but hoping that you've done the work so the experience would be the next level on.
Okay. Well, at the time, I didn't know anything about have you done the work? You'll be in trouble if you don't. It was right at the beginning. What? what I've discovered, and this is a personal thing, but I do see it in a lot of other people. Once you open the door and create a relationship with what you might call that other dimension, because it's a very, very clear other dimension that exists. It never changes. It's always there. And once you open that dialogue and open the door, then I don't think the door ever closes. So what I discovered was that, right, so it took me 3 months to get over that. And truly, in 3 months, I was thinking, no, I'm not going to go back. I can't do that. That's horrible. That was horrible. Once I settled down, I started to realize how important it was, what it had done to me, and the benefits of it. And I also noticed that I had this incredible, and it's, how can I describe it? It's like an umbilical cord connection with, I noticed my connection with nature to be, to have been increased a millionfold. Like I walk in the countryside and I could sense her that as an embodiment of Mother Nature and stuff like that. It was really a bizarre. I've never, I mean, I've always loved nature and all of that, but I never felt totally connected with nature until after those experiences where I thought, wow, she's everywhere. She's in everything, and in us as well.
Yeah,
So, uh, so I decided that I would go back shitting myself. I was shitting myself because I thought if I have another one of those, I don't want another one. Uh, so when I went back, what I did was a couple of things. Yes, I felt I'd done the work, and sure enough, I had, because the next experience was really nice, but I took slightly less. Yeah. What I discovered was this, and this is an important thing for some people are very sensitive to this medicine, very sensitive. I'm one of them. I didn't know that. And so the shaman gave me a full dose,
yeah,
and it's for somebody else, it might be like three full doses. So that's why I had this visceral reaction. And so now, kind of over time, I've reduced it and reduced it. And the more that I take it, the less I need. And so now I take a beginner's dose. Somebody who's a beginner, I take that dose, and that lasts me the entire night. Lots of other people will repeat 2 or 3 times, but it lasts me for the entire night. So obviously, I've just got a great sensibility toward it, a
yeah,
sensitivity toward it.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. And so when you're showing something, you then mull it over, work on it, and then 3 months later, you'll 4 months later, you'll go back and you'll do the ceremony again, um, and you'll be shown something else. And so it's you using it as a continuous way, as a nudge to improve yourself in almost a structured way via using what some people call a drug.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's almost as if it peels off the layers. It doesn't always take you to the worst place first, because certainly for me, although that was an extreme. That was we just need to kill your ego before we can move forward. It was one of those. But after that, I mean, it was a way down the line when she was showing me stuff about me, very personal stuff. I was thinking, oh my God, I don't like that. However, people have to understand she's the biggest exaggerator ever. She's the biggest liar ever. There's nothing that she's going to show you that's really the truth. It's like an exaggeration of, and so it can be very impactful for you. Obviously, the idea is that it impacts you, uh, but you don't have to take everything seriously, you know. But the message is there, and so what happens is the messages you have it on the nighttime, but n not always on the nighttime are you fully aware of the messages. And it's not until the next day when you're reflecting, you go, oh, right, yes, 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 yes. But sometimes when you're in the medicine and now I can ask questions. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of that? What about this? What should I do? Am I okay here? And sometimes the answers are so powerful that, burst into tears or whatever. It's beautiful. Or laugh, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so that then takes us on to the positives, doesn't it? Because we're now talking about something that's really, really important to me personally in my personal journey, and that's the self-growth. and it's
Yeah.
a self work, and that for me sounds like it's the major positive. So, again, would you like to expand on the positive that you get from this? You know,
Okay. So putting to one side the camaraderie and the the team kind of thing, and spending 2 nights with your peers and going into places, other dimensions, it forms bonds that are incredible, lifelong bonds. But in terms of the benefits for yourself personally, and I can only speak from my experience, but also I've interviewed a lot of people who've done ayahuasca. Ayahuasca, in my opinion, because I work in therapy and I work with people, ayahuasca, in my opinion, is 1 year's worth of therapy in one night. Okay.
okay, wow,
That
yes, yeah,
it's that
wow,
much. If if it's time, if it's the right moment. Yeah. So, and I've heard lots of stories of people who generally for giving up addiction, it's incredible. It's absolutely fantastic. And I've heard all kinds of people saying, I give up the usual cigarettes or overeating or whatever, but often um, hard class drugs
yeah,
as well that
yeah,
they've given up. Why? Because it's so extreme that once you've been there, it's like nothing else is going to match up to that. Nothing will match up to that. For me, what I see, the positive benefits of it is that, yeah, you can sort out your shit.
yeah,
Yeah. But it's not just about that. That to me is early doors. Sort your shit out, put yourself right, put it right. After that, it's the way that you become open to beyond this dimension. This dimension is very limited, very limited. Once you've connected, it's that the doors of perception.
yeah, yeah,
Once the doors of perception are open, and when you go to ayahuasca, because it's so strong, the door gets flung open. It doesn't close anymore. After you've done it a couple of times, that door's open. And I suppose that's why it's easier for me now just to walk through it. I don't need a lot because the door's open. I don't need to
yes,
open the door.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and so that connection opens you up to much more information, more downloads, more, my downloads came after I'd been to ayahuasca. I was connected afterwards. I was told, meditate, you've got to meditate. In ayahuasca, she was saying, you've got to meditate. When you get home, you're going to meditate, meditate, meditate. I did it. And the very first time I did it, I was connected and they came to me. So there's that side of it as well. It's going to help you sort out your 3D, but bloody hell, your 5D is going to go rocketing through the ceiling.
yeah, yeah. Now that leaves me on to another question. Okay, I can imagine with somebody hearing that going, "All right, I'm going to do it."
Yeah.
But it's not a cheat sheet, is it? It's not a cheat to upgrading into your higher self. Let's be very clear. What are your opinions on people who use this to try and jump a few levels beyond, if that makes sense?
Yeah. It's a great question, that one. It is definitely not, it's not a shortcut. It's, how can I put it? Right. Imagine you're going to climb a mountain. You've got two choices. You can go up the mountain path and it's going to take you 3 years, or you can climb the mountain face. All right. That's the worst option. It's the worst option. It's rock hard. It's rock hard. So we mustn't look at ayahuasca as a shortcut. When I see people who I perceive to go to ayahuasca for the wrong reasons,
Yes.
right? And you know what I hear? The biggest red flag that I hear is when people are too cocky. When they're cocky with, like, I went the second time, the first time, yeah, give it to me. I've done a lot. I'm not scared. Come on, give me the, oh, big mistake because she was listening. Yeah. And so she did. So it's being it demands humility. You've got to be humble. And if you think that you're going to go to make yourself into like a wowzer person, or that suddenly I'm going to start channeling 5D beings, and that's not the right motivation. The
yeah,
right motivation is to go as a humble servant of this dimension to say, what have you got to show me and what have I got to learn? That's the right way to go to ayahuasca.
yeah. Brilliantly put. I appreciate that because again, I personally never had the inclination to do it. It was offered to me once by somebody who had bad intentions, and I obviously I never did it. I never got to the stage, but there was an alternative motive to the offer, which is quite sad, really.
Yeah, man. Hmm.
But for me personally, I'm not saying I would never do it. I'm just saying for me personally, at my current stage, it's not something that I'm looking at doing, you know? Um, so is it for everybody or not? Is kind of my last question. Is it for everybody?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you aren't drawn to it, don't go. Don't do
Yeah,
it because your mate did it, or don't never allow people to push you into it. Because it isn't. It's not like saying, "Oh, I don't know if I should have that ice cream or not." We're talking serious shit here. This is
yeah,
serious business. And so when you go into it, like all of in the last retreat, half of the people were beginners. Loads of people are getting into it because it's the time that we're in.
yeah,
But if you go and talk to every one of them is scared out of their knickers. They are scared, and with good reason. With good reason. Because you never know what you're going to get. You never
yeah,
know, and you can't second guess it either. So yeah, it's not for everyone, and not everybody needs it. Not everybody needs it. I needed it because I had a lot of work that I needed to do, and I wasn't resolving it in my normal way,
yeah,
you know? And there was work I realized I had to do that I didn't even know I had to do.
yeah, yeah,
So it's not for everybody, but it is there and it's available to everybody. That's
yes.
that's true.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a gateway to anything at all, but I know it's becoming more and more fashionable, more and more popular, and I want to use the word fashionable on purpose, because just because it's fashionable doesn't mean you should be doing it. And that was one of the things I wanted to really get across near the end of this interview was it's what Gordon's discussing here is and thank you so much for being so honestly so beautifully honest and
Mm.
and expressing yourself in such a lovely way because it's very clear for me personally that I don't want to do it and I'm not going to be doing it. And if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, shall we do it because you'll get this?" No, no. And so the more we know about these things, the more these things are discussed openly, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the amazing, it then gives us the opportunity for the back of us, our mind, to then consider these things, and then we can make an informed decision on what we should or should not do, or what is potentially possible in the future. You know?
Agree with you, Gary. And the other plus side to talking about this, it isn't that your audience are going to go rushing out to do ayahuasca,
No.
but it's that they understand it. And one of the biggest impediments that we have in our society is the lack of understanding.
Yeah.
You know, there's a story out there about ayahuasca. It's not a great story, and lots of people believe that, hang on, this is in the banner of drugs. This is a drug. And so therefore you could get addicted to it and therefore you could blah, 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 blah. There, if anybody ever could get addicted to ayahuasca, I would give them £1 million because
Yeah.
there are many things that you get. I have been addicted to endless things in my life. One of them is not ayahuasca because it's just not that kind of thing. It's like saying, would you be addicted? Could you get addicted to chopping your finger off? I suppose you could, you know, only 10 times, but uh, it's not a usual thing that you would get addicted to.
No.
It's the same with ayahuasca. It's like,
Yeah.
it's too tough to be in addiction. So, it's just to help people understand that and if their partner, for example, chose to do it, let them be understanding with the partner and say, not
Yes.
not worry that hang on a minute, they might go and then they'll become addicted and they'll never come back or whatever. No,
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
it's about.
Yeah, yeah. No, and you've expressed that beautifully, and I hope that's very clear to the audience exactly what we're talking about. This is a medicine. This is a plant-based thing. It is natural, and it has been used in its many forms for thousands of years. Let's be clear about this. This isn't something that happened 5 minutes ago. Shamans
No.
throughout the centuries and thousands of years have been using, and certainly the native Indians in America were using similar stuff in their ceremonies for forever, weren't they? And
Yeah.
so they could connect to what they needed to connect to or wanted to spiritually connect to, you
Mm,
know.
yeah.
And
It was used at the beginning as for the shamans as a divination so that they could the would come the villagers would come and say, I don't know, I think my wife's having an affair, and they would go into ayahuasca and they would get visions and say yes, no, whatever. Dodgy basis because I found it's what you see there is not always believable. Um, but yeah, it's been used for as long as man's been on the earth, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's been absolutely amazing, and I'm sure the beautiful Femi, my audience, and your own audience, because obviously you'll be
Sure,
dropping
I'll
this on
be
your
sharing
channel,
it. Yeah.
will absolutely be so thankful for your honesty and openness on this subject, and all I can do is say thank you very much, Gordon. That was
You're more than
absolutely
welcome,
awesome. That was
Gary.
amazing. You
And of
know.
course, I love talking about it.
Well, these are subjects that we all sort of like go, oh yeah, ayahuasca and stuff like, and like, oh, so and so's done it, or so and so, is thinking about doing it, but it's not something that you really. I mean, I wouldn't know where to go to. I mean, yeah, of course you can type on YouTube ayahuasca or something like that, but there's not many opportunities for somebody to sit down and actually really express fully what they've experienced,
Sure.
that what they've had to do after one of those experiences and really do the self work and the change it's made in them to be able to move forward more and more positively and to enable connections to different dimensions that are just absolutely beautiful. To be fair, I mean, we all assume that this is everything is here, but this is just one fraction of a multi-dimensional universe of
Absolutely.
you know of possibilities. And
Absolutely.
no, thank you very much, Gordon. That's been
Very welcome, Gary. It's
you
been a
know
pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely awesome. So thank you very much, everybody. And really, I really do mean special thanks to Gordon for this because that to me is there's a lot there that I've learned. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I never looked into it too deeply, but oh my God, that really has been quite an eye opener on many of the things, good and bad. So
Sure.
thank you. So
Sure.
so please remember, guys, to check Gordon's channel out, Peaceful Rebellion. I will be putting a link into my description for you to go to see Gordon's amazing channel. He tends to upload what 2, 3, 4 times a week.
3 times a week. Three
Yeah,
times a week. Yeah.
yeah. And Gordon's always got some really interesting observations and positive messages, which are something I think we all need every now and again. It's, the road gets a bit sticky sometimes, and it's just part of the journey. So remember that. So yeah, so please like, share, and subscribe to Gordon of Peaceful Rebellion, and please like, share, and subscribe to me, Alternative Interactions. And with that, love, light, and blessings, everybody. Thank you very
Bye bye,
much.
everyone. Thank you.